And we're back yet again.
We're back. Okay, this is going to pull out all our professionalism and everything.
We have professionalism, Melissa. That's news.
You know, we're going to have to rise to the professionalism level.
Well,
Pretend
okay.
we have professionalism.
Right, because this is now recording number 2 or 3. Can't remember.
I feel like it's 3, but it might
So
just
do
be
I.
2.
I think it's 3. We had a great episode. It was good.
It was really good, but you're never going to hear it. But we have another one for you. We had so much fun. We're doing it again.
Because why not? Why not? And here we are. Welcome to Mixing Up Midlife. We're back in the saddle, recording, trying to get everything looking splendiferous. I actually told you before we started doing this, I'm really bummed because I actually looked good on the last episode that will never be seen. I mean, I could put a clip up of it because I've got me. There's nothing of you.
So you never even got any video of me?
I did. When we were messing around with the glasses.
Right.
I don't know.
Should I do the glasses again?
Don't do it. No.
They're sitting right here.
I'm so scared.
Okay. All right. Well, Terry, what are we talking about this week?
We are talking about, because we can't quit it, Golden Bachelor Episode 3. We can't quit it.
We can't. We had such a good time talking about the episode last time. We wanted to do it all over again. And you know what? A lot of these recording episodes, sometimes when we do it and something messes up, we say, F it, let's just go on to something else. Is it kind of strange that we decided we really needed to re-record a recap of the Golden Bachelor?
It kind of is a little weird. Why did we do that?
You know what? Because I really do think that there was a lot of comments. There was a lot of things that we said, things that they said that really do apply to our podcast and our philosophy in the Golden Bachelor. So I think it's important enough that we need to revisit it all.
Yeah, you're going to be doing a lot of the talking today, probably because I don't have my notes. I deleted them, which, do you know when you do something and you're like...
You never should do it.
Yeah, and you're like, I have this bad feeling about that.
Yeah.
And I did with deleting the notes. I was like, this is probably stupid. And I'm sure there's a way to find them again. I just didn't have the time.
It's okay. Because you know what? When you went through your notes, we commented on the same things.
Fabulous.
So
all right.
We'll still have it. So let's get into it.
I do remember the very first thing was
because you watched it from the beginning this time.
I did, thank God. I watched it on ABC night of, and the first thing that I wrote down was Askin. April, Susan, Kathy, and Nancy creating some group.
Some little clique, which I don't like cliques. Can I just say one thing? When there's a group of people all together in something and then some kind of branch off, I start getting like hot flash feelings and of PTSD of high school. And I don't want that for our women. So there really was no point to asking. So I don't think we should spend too much time on it.
I'm with you.
What I did think was interesting was just the fact that these women that are around our age were just hanging out in this house together like sorority girls. I mean, what an odd concept at our age.
I really like the concept of the women in a group doing things.
Yeah.
That's what I like. But the whole Bachelor concept to me, the Golden Bachelor, the dating thing, we've talked about this. It's just not for me. I'm with you on the cliques. I don't know why they felt like it was a necessary thing to form a group and what purpose it served. Who knows? But then we get into the talent show.
Yeah, so they come in and they begin with the group date. So I guess there's a group date and a one-on-one date.
Right.
So they start with the group date, and the group date winner, because it ends up being a talent show, gets the one-on-one with Gerry.
Right. Gerry. Yes.
Gerry. At any rate, so we know that, and we mentioned this on our first recording, Terry, at the end, and now I can say it to you at the beginning.
What?
If you were put on the spot in this situation and said, boom, In the next hour, you need to do a talent show. What would your talent be?
What would my talent be? And can I tell you two things? Okay, so this was a great question, and I had a really hard time answering it. But it was such a great question that I actually asked my friends and my husband last night. We went over to my friend's house, and I said, if you were to do a talent show, what would your talent be? It doesn't actually have to be like a talent. So,
right, because some of them are pretty funny. We'll get into.
But you said for me, because I really was having trouble with it, you said listening to people and asking them questions.
Of some
interviewing. Type. Because I do like to ask questions about people. And I think that is my talent, is making people feel comfortable enough that they can open up and tell me about themselves.
Right.
So,
you can talk to anyone. That's why I hang out with you, Terry, because I've decided I am an extroverted introvert.
Yes.
Well, most people I hang out with are introverted extroverts, they say.
Interesting.
So I get my energy from being around people like you who can do all the talking when we go out and do things, and I can just
observe.
What do you call it? It's not even observe. I can enjoy it without the pressure of
I get that.
Walking up to a stranger and saying something.
I get that. I said your talent would be you could take a photograph of anyone at any time and make them feel comfortable. That is your talent.
And I said that would make a pretty bad talent on stage.
I disagree. So, but see,
demonstrate.
You have to take the stage part out of it, I think. So let's get into that talent show.
All right.
Started out with Sandra, and actually I found my notes, not my notes. I found my recording. And it's transcripted.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So we started out with Sandra.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved what Sandra did. She told a joke. That was great. But my whole thing with her is she owned the stage. She used all of the stage and grabbed each part of the audience. So I liked that.
Yes, her talent is being a TED Talk speaker.
Correct. I think so. I mean, I thought she was great. Next.
I like Sandra. I hope she stays on for a while just because I like her.
Me too. She adds something.
She does. I like the two sides of her. I call her Spicy Sandra.
Ooh, I like that. She is spicy.
Yeah.
I really like her.
Okay, so then we have, I guess Susan was next, who just did karate. And they really didn't show. I wouldn't say just, because that's probably a really good talent, but they didn't really show it. So
yeah, she broke a board with her foot, I think.
Yeah,
a kick.
I think it's an amazing talent.
I thought that was really impressive.
And she can cook a good meal, too, so.
A meatball.
And then there's Ellen, and we loved what Ellen did too.
I'm trying to read my
notes. She is the one who's able to give a sex talk to middle schoolers.
What a brilliant talent to be able
to
everybody
say the word vagina, I think.
Yes. She called it my hoo-ha is a vagina.
Yes.
Right.
And everyone had to repeat that.
Right. So instead of giving your hoo-ha nicknames, you call it what it is. It's a vagina. It's not a dirty word. It is what it is. And I think that is especially for those teenagers. Oh my God. Middle schoolers.
Imagine being the person up there giving that type of speech. So I think that truly is a talent to be able to do that and do that in a smooth and humorous way. So I'm glad she showed that side of her, because if I was Gerry, I'd note that.
I would too. Now, you brought up something in our first recording that they had a special guest.
Oh, yeah.
And who is the special guest?
Caitlin Bristow.
Okay.
And I don't know if our listeners would care that much about it, but I have a feeling if we listen to some of the regular listeners of The Bachelor, Bachelorette, she's one of the more popular bachelorettes, and I have no idea if she found love, if she is with anybody or what anything now. But apparently she's a big deal. And I just made a note that I thought it was kind of funny that Gerry's like, Caitlin Bristow is here. And I know he had no idea who she was.
Of course not. I'm sure maybe one or two of those women knew who she was, potentially. But again, I remember talking about this yesterday. It was all for grabbing the younger audience and bringing the younger audience in. And that I appreciate, because I think it's really important to see these women and know that if you're lucky enough, you will be these women later on in life, or you could be these women. So actually, I thought that was a good move. Who is next? It was Faith.
Yes, and of course, Faith, she's proven her talent before. She plays the guitar and she sings, and she did some of that.
Totally expected her to do that.
I like Faith too. She didn't get much airtime on this episode either, but I still like her.
I really like her. The next one up was April.
And again, another one that I hope she will be staying longer, because they didn't use her as much as she should. And I believe she did something like motivational speaking as hers.
Yes, women empowerment. It seemed like that's what it was. I would have liked to have seen that a little bit
more. Yeah.
Right. And they set her up in this episode later down the line as a protector of her friend group.
They're showing different sides of her. In the beginning, she was kind of like the funny, wisecracking, sexy one that we think would be doing well on any Bravo show as a housewife. But this is kind of showing that caring, nurturing side of her as well.
I think April is a star, and we both have said we want to see more of April later on in something else. I think she's amazing.
Yes, I think this will be kicking her off to something. And then we have Kathy, who did push-ups. We saw a brief snippet of that. Yeah. We saw Nancy, who caught whipped cream in her mouth.
Right. And I had told you were like, that's a talent. And I said, this was something that caught on. It was a TikTok challenge, and it was COVID adjacent. You put a glob of whipped cream on your forearm and slap it up into your mouth and eat it. My future son-in-law and I tried really hard to do this. He's great at it. I'm terrible at it. And it was fun.
Okay.
All right. So the next one was
Leslie. Leslie with the dirty dancing.
Right. So Leslie proved that she is indeed a sexy dancer.
Right. Gary's tongue was hanging out.
He seemed to be enjoying it. I would have been mortified if somebody gave me basically a bump and grind lap dance on national TV, but good for Gerry.
Gerry just goes with everything. He is the perfect bachelor.
He's pretty chill. He is pretty chill, so good for him.
Did you see that? You saw that TikTok I sent to you with that woman imitating him?
That was so funny, Melissa.
She did it perfectly.
She really did do it perfectly. The thing that I thought was so funny about Leslie is after she does this dance and bump and grind, she picks up a container off the floor. It had a piece of pie or cake or something in it, and she's like, and she bakes. She fed it to Gerry.
That was a good one. That was a good end to it. I thought.
Well, she fed it to Gerry, and then they had a kiss on stage. Again, not for me. And I'm like, why? Where did I become such a prude in my life? I'm like all embarrassed watching people kiss. I get that way just in general now. Like I see a sex scene on TV and I get embarrassed.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know.
That's funny.
It is very funny because that is not who I am or whatever. Moving on.
Okay. So the one person that they kind of showed the buildup for the talent show was Joan. And Joan was stressing out because she said she had no talent. I can sympathize with that panic feeling, and she doesn't seem to want to be on stage either. So when she got up to go, you're a little nervous for her, But she did the most amazing thing. She recited a poem that she wrote, which was called
I Hope I Don't Vomit on Your Shoes. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
That was it.
I had vomit on shoes. And that was I'm like, I know there was more to it than that.
It was really funny. She did amazingly. Gerry ended up loving it because...
So much so, she gets the date.
He said that anyone who could put themselves into a situation like that where they really were uncomfortable and do it, he had such respect for that, and he gave her the date. So they went on the date.
They had a nice little moment about relating the fact that they're both widows and widowers, and she said she's been a widow for 2.5 years, and that coming on The Bachelor is the first time she did something just for herself.
The other thing to that is he said that people, after his wife had passed away, after a year, they were like, it's been a year, it's time for you to date or something like that. And I thought, why are people giving a time limit to when you date and when it's okay? To me,
there are no rules
crazy.
In grief.
No. And a lot of the widows on this show mention that it's been however many years and they still get those moments. I don't think that sadness goes away. It'll pop up because you loved somebody so deeply that you wanted to bind yourself to them. So why would that go away? And why is a year an appropriate time? That really cheesed me off, but okay.
No, I think it was an important conversation they had. And again, for the younger crowd, for other people to listen to, that there isn't a smooth timeline in dealing with this. But she also, not only was this the first time she's done something for herself, it just happened to coincide with her daughter having her first baby, right around the time she left. So she seemed a little stressed out by that.
I think it was 15 days prior, she said. And it was I think it was either a tough pregnancy, tough birth, tough everything. So I think that was weighing on her and she was worried. But again, you had said she really wanted to do this, that this was the first thing that she was doing for herself.
Right. They have a nice date together, but the next day it does show her on a phone call, and then she goes and breaks down in front of the women and says that something's happening at home and she has to leave.
Right.
So I thought that was so sad, and I thought the women felt so bad for her. There was no haha, she's leaving, more strategic for me. Everyone just felt so bad for her. And no matter how much of a wonderful date she had with Gerry, she still left. One of her final comments was, I hope it works out with another one of these women for her. So I thought that was, again, so sweet. And she said she selfishly did this for herself, which that kind of breaks my heart a little. She should not be ever apologizing for doing something like this.
Right. Never. And it was selfless for her to go home and take care of her daughter. I actually looked at her social this morning.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And she had posted, my family will always come first. Now, it was interesting, the wording, because I thought, and I was wondering, well, if they had such a nice, intense connection, maybe they'll meet up later.
Right.
And she did say something like the Golden Bachelor ended, it was delayed or something. It wasn't like it ended.
So you think there could be something?
I am wondering.
Because they did really look like they connected. Joan was the one that I commented looked like she could be on the regular Bachelor. She's so beautiful. He seems to like the blondes. Actually, he likes the brunettes too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he likes the brunettes. So I think Gerry is living his very best life.
Yes, he is.
So here's what Joan wrote on her social. My journey to find love took a detour this week. See, I knew it was a D word. I don't remember anything, but As I traded the mansion for motherhood and headed home to be with my family. Family comes first, period. Once a mother, always a mother. I'll always choose my kids first. Thank you for all of your outpouring of love and support, not only for me, but also for my daughter. Everyone is now healthy and happy. And that's really good because I remember saying in our first recording, or our second, whichever it was, that I was really hopeful that everything was okay with her daughter and the baby, because that would be another heartache for this woman who seems so wonderful.
Yes. And I think I got a little chills as you read that. And I think a lot of our audience would be the same way. You know, many of us are that way.
Yeah.
Motherhood, once a mother, that always comes first.
It doesn't go away. That desire to take care of your kids. I would choose my family over this TV show any day. Mm-hmm. And that's the mature thing to do, obviously. Mm-hmm. I think I remember somebody being on The Bachelorette and her grandmother died and she stayed on the show. Probably a different...
Again, I think motherhood is different.
Yes, 100%. Okay.
She also said something else that we really got into last time as she left. She said, as she was being driven away, she said that her heart got fixed a little with her date with Gerry. And she said, because as you get older, you get more invisible. Like people don't see you as significant. And I think you and I were standing in our rooms yelling at her, going, you're not invisible.
You're not invisible.
We've done a whole episode on that.
Yes. And that breaks my heart. I know it breaks your heart. We don't want these women, any women, to feel invisible, to think that they're less important, that they don't mean something. Maybe what the Golden Bachelor is doing is showing younger generations that this is something that a lot of women feel as they age. You and I, we've discussed it. We don't feel invisible, but we do understand the women who do.
It's a very common thing.
Yeah.
And I think it is good for people to understand that. And maybe, the Golden Bachelor is showing that just a little because these women are so vibrant and out there doing stuff. So
yes.
We'll see. We'll keep pushing our cause too. We'll keep yelling it out there.
We could go on and on and on about this, but we're not going to go.
Listen to our episode on Do You Feel Invisible, though. We'll put that in the show notes.
I will put that episode in our show notes, and you absolutely should listen to it. It was a good episode. Mm-hmm. All right, Melissa, who's next?
Okay, so then we have another one-on-one date, and Ellen is chosen for it. And Ellen was the one who does the speech to middle school children.
Right. You mentioned yesterday when we recorded the third time, the second time.
I think they're tired of hearing that. Can you tell we're a little upset about that?
A little bitter. But you had mentioned that Gerry said... Well, I think Ellen needs pampering.
Oh, yeah. Why did he choose? Yeah.
What was that made him feel like she needed pampering? Was it something she said? Was it the way she looked?
I wonder if it was,
what was it?
Because she came on she's the one with her friend that passed away. So maybe she was been a caregiver for a while.
Roberta.
He also said, so he thought she needed pampering. And part of this date was they get all glammed up and some designer walked in and announced who he was and that he was a designer. So he's not the biggest designer out there, I would say.
Christian Siriano, right?
Yeah,
Everybody knows his name.
Yep.
But maybe
if you have to say you're a designer, I'm a famous designer.
But maybe in certain circles,
yes.
He
probably does ball gowns because she wore a lot of gowns.
Right. So maybe on the society circuit.
Maybe in the Bachelorette circuit.
Oh, that could very well be. And that's why he was so famous. Right. Like the photographer. From episode 2, who was like the worst photographer ever. But going on.
Going on. So another reason he said he wanted to go out with her was because he felt very comfortable with her,
Right.
but he wasn't sure if it was a friend vibe. He wanted to know if there's something more.
Right.
And did we figure that out? Did we find that out, do you think?
Okay, so he said he could be most himself with Ellen. And did we find that? So we definitely know that on her end, she felt butterflies. They had a kiss. Their trip was also in a balloon, which was tethered, which I thought,
yeah, they did the balloon.
Is that romantic to have a tethered balloon or not?
Or is it just for the image?
That's it. It was all for the thing. But anyway, they had a kiss in the balloon, and she said she had butterflies from that kiss.
So she's feeling it, but we
She's
still don't
feeling
know
it.
if Gerry is.
We don't.
However, she did get diamond earrings.
They were Neil Lane diamond earrings. And what a nice gift. I think she does get to keep them.
Compared to Nancy, who got a oversized picture by a photographer.
In quotes, exactly.
In quotes, unquotes.
Yeah. We should Google him and see how is this guy famous.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? Because those photos that they showed were really horrifying.
They're really bad.
I would take the earrings over the portrait.
Yeah,
any
I
day.
thought that was a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Next.
So what happens next in the show, you and I both felt a little ick about, and that is that they're trying to throw the villain card
Right.
on Kathy.
Kathy. Right. Because why?
It was silly. It was Teresa and Kathy were talking together, and Teresa was talking about her date and saying wonderful things about him.
And what
And
a
they
great
kept
connection they had.
Yeah. So this is what is the discussion in these shows. And then they kept showing Kathy talking about her, like how horrible she is for doing that. And again, I really think it's the producers trying to find a controversy, trying to make it more like a regular Bachelor, which I don't think they can do with these women because poor Teresa, all I say is power to Teresa, because once she was confronted with it, which happens later,
She was horrified.
She was horrified. She had no idea that someone thought that about her, and she apologized. She apologized not thinking she had done anything, which us women should not do.
Right. No. Obviously, I am so sorry you were hurt. That was not an intention. She's a good person. She doesn't want to hurt anybody.
Exactly.
But honestly, the Kathy thing, I was like,
yeah,
what
and that's a bummer
really-
because we like Kathy. We think she's funny, but we both thought that maybe there isn't such a connection with Gerry, so she's just having fun with her time on the show and trying to do something interesting with it.
Exactly. I think so. I mean, maybe her producer is telling her to stir the pot. There's no connection. Move on. So she gets the rose from Gerry because when they have a one-on-one moment, she's crying. She says she was feeling villainized or bullied or something. And
so Gerry wastes a rose on that.
goes
He's
to
too
say-
nice.
But he's a nice guy, right? Like, I don't want you to feel bad. Here's a rose. So Kathy was safe. And I'm glad Kathy's safe.
Yeah.
Because I like her.
Right.
And we got to know her a little bit. But this manufactured argument, I don't know.
We're not here for.
Yeah.
I know that is the whole thing with The Bachelor. I know we had to go through that, but they're trying, and they're not going to convince me that any of these women are evil.
Yeah, 100%. I think they really do need to come at it very, very differently. So then what happens?
So after Teresa apologizes, I think Gerry finds out that it was her that made Kathy feel bad.
Then he goes up to talk to her.
So it kind of gives you the drama. Will she get a rose or not?
Right.
So the rose ceremony comes right now.
But wait 1 second. So
Okay.
the one thing that happened, Teresa and Gerry are talking in the room. And she was like, I had no idea. And Gerry says, well, this could be a red flag. I really like Teresa, but this could be a red flag if this is her. And then Teresa says, well, Gerry came up to my room to start talking to me. And Kathy goes, don't say stuff like that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm like, wait, what?
But that's what happened. He came up to the room and told her.
It had nothing to do with anything other than Gerry came up to the room. Like,
yeah, that was the worst attempt at trying to make someone have drama.
Yeah, agree.
So again, we're not here for that. We don't believe it. Sorry, producers, you're not going to convince us.
Yeah, find a different way.
Yeah.
Like
find something different.
For sure. Okay, so then what happens, Melissa?
So now we have the rose ceremony.
Okay.
And who gets the roses?
I don't remember.
Faith gets a rose, which is good. I like her, but they didn't give enough of her.
No.
Sandra gets a rose. Again,
happy. Yay.
Happy. Leslie gets a rose.
Yes.
Which I'm not surprised because Gerry's waiting for that honeymoon suite or whatever
it's called.
He's going to keep her till then. I don't know if he'll marry her, but anyway, Nancy got a rose.
Good.
And we saw nothing of Nancy other than the whipped cream.
Oh, right. Yes.
but
until the
like
very end. Which
Susan got a rose, which surprised me because they didn't seem like they had any connection there.
No.
But again, happy. Could use more Susan.
She's funny. Again,
Yeah.
she's a character. I think they have to keep them around. The more character-y type people. This is, again, why I'm sad Natasha is gone, because she's a character.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm kind of bummed. April is still in, and
Fabulous.
I think they've got to show more April as well.
I think April's week is next week.
Yeah, and we already know that Kathy got one.
Yes.
And Ellen got one as well. Yeah,
yes.
So they got one ahead of time.
Yes.
And so the big drama was, does Teresa get one? And of course she does. So who is out? Good hair is out. Edith, the one with the great hair.
Beautiful hair. Loved her hair.
Just her. I don't know anything about Edith, but.
And Christina.
I don't remember
I didn't
Christina
really know too
well.
much about her either. Very pretty blonde woman. That's all I remember. And I think part of the problem or part of the effort is to get big personalities and a connection. And I wonder what the behind the scenes are with all of this stuff. Like, do they say, okay, Gerry, do you have like an actual connection with this person? Because
I
if
want
you
to
do,
know how much power.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's bring her in more. Let's study her or profile her. And then who's really great TV? Even if you don't have a connection, let's keep her around for a little bit.
Exactly.
So I think that's really where Kathy, I think that's where Susan is. I think Faith, Leslie are for sure going to be in it
pretty
towards
close
the
to the
end.
end.
Yeah. Oh, Teresa also. What do you think about Teresa?
Teresa. He did seem to really like it when she put her hand on his shoulder in the car. That's all I can remember about Teresa. I could see him with Teresa. And what about Ellen? I'm not sure about Ellen.
I don't think Ellen is it. I don't think
she got her earring, so.
They show her next week because she's the pickleball co-captain, and she is just slamming everybody. So she's got a competitive edge, but I don't know that that's Gary's style. I don't think so. And I feel like as much as April is phenomenal and wonderful, I also don't think that's Gary's style.
No.
I think he needs somebody who's a little bit more down to earth, traditional, potentially traditional, but just down to earth. I see Faith. I see him and Faith together.
Yeah, I like
honest.
Faith. I mean, I like Faith for him.
I do too. All right. So, Melissa, who are your final picks? Next week, who do you think is going to go?
How many have to go?
This week, 2 went. So, let's say 2 to 4.
I'd say probably Kathy is going to go.
Yeah.
And maybe Sandra, because they're not showing her all that much.
Unless
they give her a little more airtime.
I would like that.
Susan. I mean, I don't know if would they get rid of Susan and Kathy together.
Kathy, I don't think so, because they're two very strong personalities. We already know them. We know them. We know that they're funny. We need that funny. So I am going to think maybe Sandra, because they haven't shown her enough.
Maybe
I think Ellen's going to go. I think Nancy's going to stay.
Yeah, I think
so.
Nancy's going to stay, even though we didn't see much of her.
Yeah. So those are my predictions.
If you have to have one that he ends up with, who would it be?
Faith.
I put Faith down too first.
I like Faith for him. I think Leslie's going to make it to the end. I think he's not going to pick Teresa.
And I think all that drama with people being upset or him being upset is probably when he breaks Teresa's heart. That's my prediction.
Okay.
Because she's all in.
She is all in. It's hard to watch that.
These aren't the games that we want to watch. But
no.
We knew what we signed up for.
We did, and we hope you'll sign up to stay with us for this stuff. And hopefully this recorded or it's not, because I'm leaving for Paris tomorrow. And that is
all right.
it.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. We do want you to leave us a voicemail on our website. It can be 60 seconds. If you go over 60 seconds, leave another one. What would your talent be? I really want to know what your talent would be.
I agree.
I think that would be so interesting to hear. So please leave us a voicemail on our website. That's mixingupmidlife.com. You could certainly DM us your talent on our Instagram, Mixing Up Midlife.
I'll put it on the Facebook group as well.
I love that. And our Facebook group is Mixing Up Midlife Discussion. So we have been having some conversations in there about the Golden Bachelor.
Yeah, keep that going.
It's good to have that interaction. We love getting to know you all that maybe aren't the bigger commenters and posters, and we love to have our big commenters keep it up, because that makes it more engaging and a lot more fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Terry, have a wonderful time. You will have all sorts of stories next time I see you.
I sure will.
Have a wonderful time.
Thank you. I'm going to post a croissant for all of you to eat with me. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting back and talking to you, Melissa. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. I can't wait. But we will have another show for you next week. So,
the magic of recording.
We love it.
All right. Have a good week.
Have a great week. Bye. Let's keep going. The dog's barking. Somebody's going to blast in here in 2 seconds flat because nobody knows where I am. So I know. So is there more?